What's up, Internet? Welcome to the first episode of PocketCast, the only Pokemon TCG Pocket podcast that apparently is still running. My name's Drew. I run Pocket Packs on TikTok, and Drew and Diane over on YouTube, where I also post Pokemon Pocket content as well. The first couple of weeks, we're going to be running through a few bugs. I have rough drafts of a bunch of stuff, which is why this cam outline sort of looks a little sketchy, and you'll see things slowly improve over time. You know, as I always say, we're taking baby steps to get to where we want to be. In the future, we're going to be inviting guests. So if you are a content creator on TikTok, YouTube, or Twitch that likes to talk about Pokemon Pocket or plays Pokemon Pocket and would like to be involved in joining the podcast at one point or another, please feel free to reach out to me on one of my social networks, preferably TikTok or over on YouTube. Or if you want to reach out through email, it's going to be birdmarkllc@gmail.com. So now that we've gone through the intro, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of housekeeping.
Housekeeping? Housekeeping? Housekeeping, you want towel? Housekeeping, you want info pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
If you guys have been following the TikTok channel and also the YouTube channel, you've realized that I've sort of slowed down on certain things and tried to focus in more on easier content to be able to kick out a lot more frequently. PocketCast is going to be supplementing additional daily content, as the weekly event update will be posting on Tuesday. The housekeeping segment will be posted on Wednesdays. The What the Meta will be posted on Thursdays. The tournament highlights will be posted on Fridays. And the guest interviews will be posted on Saturdays. All of those days, the shorts version will be going out early in the morning, which is going to be sometime between 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Of course, the full VOD is going to be going up on YouTube. That way people can be able to catch the full podcast. Eventually, we'll be posting the podcast to other podcasting services in the future. We are just taking baby steps getting started. This is only the first episode, so I'm not anticipating getting this everywhere. And for the last bit of housekeeping, live streams are going to only be on Mondays and Tuesdays for the foreseeable future. There's some days at my new day job that I work 11 hours. There's some days that I only work 6 hours. Those days that I work a little bit less, I can come home and work on things that I have to do in real life, not in pretend video game life in which I'm having fun talking to you guys.
Received in our news. Just received in our received in our news. Just received in our This is the latest dispatch just received in our newsroom.
Time for the weekly event update. All right, for the weekly event update, that's going to be starting July 8th, running through July 14th. The sneak peek campaign ended yesterday at Game Reset. The Alcremie drop event is going to be wrapping up on July 12th at Date Reset. I know this drop event wasn't exactly the most exciting one, but hopefully with the new big set that's going to be coming out at the end of the month, we'll be seeing a brand new drop event that'll be a lot more exciting than this one. Potentially one with 7 cards instead of just the 5 cards that we got with Eevee Grove. The only other event that's going to be starting this week is going to be the Toga Damaru Wonder Pick event, which is going to be starting July 11th and wrapping up on July 28th, just as the ranked season will also be ending. But that's it for your weekly event update. Jumping over to the tournament highlights, the two tournaments that we're going to highlight this week is going to be the Ursi Day tournament. Of course, if you play Pokemon Pocket pretty consistently and follow the competitive scene, you know about the Ursi Day weekly tournament. And we're also going to be covering the Frog EX tournament very slightly, as it's pretty much the same thing but more pinned towards a European audience. So we're not exactly going to go through a lot of meta things, as we will be going through that in What the Meta. But it's surprising seeing a lot of older decks still coming around, like Dark Gira. We still have Silvally Arcario. Arcario is actually sticking around in this meta a lot longer than I was anticipating when I originally saw the card. But out of 714 competitors, we saw an actual good spread of international players. Probably the most notable thing about the Ursi Day tournament is always what are the last two decks to make it through. Pepin MX made the Sylveon EX with Greninja, and Bestiari made a Silvally Oricario deck. The most popular decks that entered into the Ursi Day tournament are the Sylvalian Greninja, Charizard Sylvalian, Flareon Leafeon, so the EV Evolution deck, Silvally Oricario, Giratina Darkrai, Guzzlord Nigaligo, even though Guzzlord and Nigaligo decks have fallen off quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. And one deck that actually made a surprise comeback is Garchomp EX with Silvally. So you're sort of taking the idea of what Garchomp decks were before, eliminating a few Pokemon to be able to open up that quick draw that Sylvalian EX has to offer. But before we move on from the Ursi Day tournament, I just want to go over the decks real quick. Pepin MX, his deck featured two Greninja lines, no Frogadier, two EVs, Sylvalian EX, and a Giratina EX. For your trainer cards, he had two Professors, two Cyrus, one Mars, two Pokeballs, two Rare Candies, a red card, and a Giant Cape. As far as Bestiari's Silvally Oricario deck, he had two Silvally lines, two Oricarios, and one Zorora, with his trainer cards being two Professors, two Gladions, two Giovannis, one Mars, a Dawn, a Cyrus, a Sabrina, two Balls, and a Cape. Of course, the best way to figure out how these decks work is to go ahead and check the VOD, which is available over on Ursi's channel on YouTube. Moving on to the Frog EX tournament, where 363 players competed. The top deck by Valden was a Evolution deck, two Flareon EXs, a Sylvalian EX, two EV EXs, two EVs, two Balls, two EV Bags, a Sabrina, a Red, two Professors, Mars, and a Cape. Just as I was commenting on the Ursi Day tournament, second place was a Rampardos Garchomp EX deck. Now, this one has no Sylvalian or Eevee in this deck, and just runs exactly how the Garchomp EX deck came out a few sets ago. If you want to see a tournament featured here on PocketCast that gets highlighted every single week, please let me know in either the comments of this video or by emailing me correctly, so then we can be able to highlight that tournament in the future. All right, that's it for the tournament highlights. Let's move on to What the Meta. Probably the easiest way to be able to track whatever is going on in the meta is either jumping into ranked yourself or just looking at what the most popular decks were in the previous Ursi Day tournament. As I said before, the most popular Ursi Day tournament deck was the Sylveon EX and Greninja. The second most popular was Charizard Sylveon. Third was Flareon Leafeon EX, the Evolution decks. Solvali Arcario following up with 52. Giratina Darkrai still holding strong. And the rest sort of start to fall off, like Guzzlord Nihilego, Garchomp Sylveon, Tapu Koko Arceus, Greninja Oricario, Solgaleo Shiinotic. But instead of just talking about these newer decks, I want to sort of talk about my personal thoughts on these decks. And in the future, when I have a guest, they'll also be able to put in their input on how they would play and what they do to best combat these meta decks. Greninja Sylveon Giratina is honestly probably the most frequent deck that you're going to see on the ranked ladder this season. Consistently being able to draw out at least one Greninja line to be able to ping to one of your two Cyruses while you're building up Giratina on the bench. Yes, running two energies does make this deck sort of difficult, but luckily, every single one of these Pokemon have at least one of their energy slots open to be a different energy type. Now, the one thing that varies between everybody's deck is whether they run a Mars, or a red card, or some kind of variable like Iona supporter, or red, Giovanni. It all depends on what their personal preference is and how they see the meta being perceived at that point in time. Probably the one deck that I least estimated with the last set to consistently be holding on to these competitive tournaments is the Solvali line. When I first saw that, I was like, okay, that's sort of an interesting card. Nothing really too crazy going on here that would make it competitively viable. But while being able to have consistently a lot of supporter cards going in your hand, and being able to potentially prevent EX cards from attacking your active Pokemon with Oricario, it's a very effective deck that I have a feeling we're going to see for the long run, depending on how the set that comes out at the end of the month is able to combat these cards with eventual power creep. The one deck that really made me question people's sanity is the fact of the matter that we're seeing Eevee evolution decks being competitively viable while running Psychic, Fire, and Grass energy types. Now, most of these decks are just going to be running Fire energy, as Flareon is the main guy that you're going to be boosting up. Sylveon you're not even going to be using other than to be able to get that extra boost for drawing out cards, as for some reason we still haven't gotten a new item or supporter card to be able to draw out more cards. And with the way that Eevee Bag is able to offer a lot of variability to be able to fight continuous matches either by healing or by boosting additional damage on top of a potential red or Giovanni, makes the Eevee evolution deck what is really insane in this current meta. Now, in the future, we are going to be doing a particular segment towards the end of the show where we sort of interview the guest, talk about things, let them plug stuff, all that sort of hoopla, normal collab stuff that allows people to sort of talk about themselves, tell us about projects they're working on, recent tournament placements, where people can be able to find them, all that sort of shenanigans, you know? But this first episode and the second episode, I'm just going to be running solo. So just sort of wanted to give you guys an idea of the structuring that we're going to be running. But that's it. That's all. A reminder for you guys, we are going to be breaking up the PocketCast into daily shorts. So once again, the weekly event update will be coming out Tuesdays. The housekeeping segment will be coming out Wednesdays. The What the Meta will be coming out Thursdays. The tournament highlights will be coming out Fridays, just before most of the major tournaments are starting to happen for the next week. And then the guest interview shorts will be coming out on Saturdays. So that's it. That's all. I'm Drew, Pocket Packs. And until next time, guys, I'll see you on the internet.